Emma started working from home more often. Her calendar filled with strange abbreviations and vague notes. WFH appeared next to Meet J across town. I asked who Jay was. She said it was a client. Her tone was smooth, casual, too easy. I believed her for a while, because I wanted to. But the receipts never showed up. Every dinner, every Uber, every little thing missing. She blamed app glitches and email errors. I started noticing the pauses between her sentences, like her mind was editing in real time. Her phone was always face down. Notifications muted, screen dimmed, eyes alert. I stopped asking questions that made her uncomfortable. But my curiosity turned into quiet surveillance. She called it paranoia. I called it math that didn't balance. Her smiles felt staged, her hugs mechanical. She talked about her networking trip in October. 2 weeks blocked on her shared calendar, marked mad. I asked what that meant. She said Madison, Wisconsin. I nodded and checked her browser history that night. The tab said Best Rooftops Madrid and Spanish cafes with views. My chest went cold. I took a screenshot, saved it in a hidden folder called Pattern. She kept planning the trip with fake nonchalance. I matched timestamps between her emails and the calendar. The overlaps told a story she didn't say out loud. Flights booked at 1:37 a.m., confirmation under another name. 2 seats, 11A and 11C. I read the itinerary 3 times, hoping it was a mistake. It was. The ticket said, purchased by Jason. A name I'd heard once, from her university days back home. She said he was just a friend who shared playlists and memories. Apparently, he also shared boarding passes. I didn't explode. I didn't accuse. I just started collecting evidence. Screenshots, receipts, and messages that didn't belong to me. Her WhatsApp previews showed countdowns and emojis. A rooftop selfie captioned soon. Her reply, a red heart and a blushing face. That's how liars talk, when they forget honesty has echoes. I stopped sleeping well. She started acting like I was the problem. Why are you so intense? She'd say. Because the truth doesn't vanish when you ignore it, I thought. Every night, I stared at our ceiling fan spinning like time wasting itself. I memorized the patterns of her excuses. Each one crafted just enough to sound true. She talked about loyalty, about trust, about how love needed space. But love doesn't need boarding passes. I opened a new folder on my computer, Evidence 1. Then another, Evidence 2. I wrote notes like a detective, not a husband. Each file felt like another nail, in a coffin built with silence. By September, I knew the trip was real. The seat numbers, the hotel name, even the restaurant list. Her lies were perfectly organized, like everything she touched. I smiled at breakfast, nodded during dinner, and said nothing. Because sometimes the most powerful answer is documentation. And the quietest revenge is preparation. The night before her flight, Emma packed like a soldier. Methodical, fast, detached. She said it was a work trip, her company reconnecting with old partners. Her tone was too polished, too rehearsed. She avoided my eyes when she zipped the suitcase. I asked where she was staying. She said the hotel name too quickly, like reading a script. I smiled and said, "Safe travels." Inside, I was already dismantling everything she built. When she left for the airport, I opened her laptop. Not to snoop, but to confirm what I already knew. Her inbox was a museum of deception. Flight confirmations, restaurant reservations, emails in Spanish that started with "mi amor." The sender was Jason. I felt nothing. No rage, no heartbreak, just the calm of realization. She used me for papers. He used her for thrill. I was the bridge both crossed to get what they wanted. I printed every email and placed them in a binder. Each page labeled with dates, receipts, and screenshots. Evidence, not emotion. I didn't throw anything. I didn't text her. I brewed coffee, opened a spreadsheet, and built a plan. First step, lawyer. Second, financial separation. Third, silence. When you stop talking, liars lose their power. I called an immigration attorney the next morning. Her name was Ms. Reyes. Her office smelled like old paper and truth. She didn't flinch when I explained everything. She just said, "You're the petitioner. You can withdraw any time before adjudication." I asked what happens next. She said, "No petitioner, no green card." Her words hit like a switch flipping. It wasn't revenge. It was correction. She handed me a form template, short, cold, precise. No feelings, just function. I filled it out in neat handwriting, signed twice, and got it notarized. I mailed it with tracking numbers and confirmation receipts. 2 envelopes. One to the service center. One to the local field office. I watched the clerk stamp them and felt my pulse steady. That sound, the stamp, was closure in progress. At home, I made copies of every document. Marriage certificate, interview notice. I-130, I-485. All now pieces of a puzzle that no longer existed. I took her off my bank account, removed her name from credit cards. Changed passwords, locked files. A quiet dismantling of shared life. When she called from Madrid, I didn't answer. Her voicemail said, "I landed safe." Her voice sounded happy. Too happy. By the time she was drinking wine on foreign rooftops, her future was already expiring. USCIS would process my withdrawal in days. Her travel card, her status, her safety, all tied to a form I'd undone. That's the thing about paperwork. It moves slower than lies, but hits harder when it arrives. When I tracked the delivery and saw received, I exhaled for the first time in months. Peace didn't feel like victory. It felt like silence doing its job. Days passed without a word from Emma. Her messages turned shorter, her tone distant. I watched the clock, not her, because I knew time was now my ally. USCIS updated the case status to withdrawn by petitioner. It was a single line that ended everything. No ceremony, no heartbreak, just an entry in a database. I printed it, signed the bottom, and filed it under closure. Her voice called one night from Madrid, tired and small. "I miss you," she said. I stared at the ceiling, phone in hand, heart steady. "Take care," I replied. She didn't know that her future in this country had already expired. She spoke about new clients, networking events, and rooftop dinners. The words sounded rehearsed, like lies wearing perfume. I let her talk until the silence felt louder than her voice. When the call ended, I added the timestamp to my evidence folder. Every detail mattered now. A week later, Ms. Reyes emailed confirmation. "Your withdrawal processed successfully. Case closed." Her precision felt like mercy. I sent her a thank you note and paid the final fee. The receipt went into a folder labeled Peace. Emma's company must have noticed the change. Her HR department would see her work permit invalid soon. It was only a matter of time before reality caught up. At home, I kept the rhythm of normal life. Work, gym, laundry. The quiet kind that doesn't demand applause. I cleaned out our shared closet. Half of it was empty space and empty promises. I left her things neatly folded in boxes. Not out of nostalgia, just organization. I didn't touch her wedding ring. It sat on the counter like an unpaid bill. When the USCIS letter finally arrived, I didn't rush to open it. I already knew what it said. But reading it felt like turning off a fire alarm that had screamed for months. Petition withdrawn. Adjustment of status denied. No emotion, just closure written in government font. I placed it beside her framed photo and walked away. That night, I cooked dinner alone. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was structured, measured, safe. Emma texted again, "Can we talk when I'm back?" I stared at the screen, typed nothing, then deleted the draft. Talking had already done enough damage. Instead, I exported our shared calendar. I marked every overlap, every hidden pattern. Data never lies. I sent the final summary to my email titled, "For Record." Then I deleted the shared account entirely. By morning, she no longer existed in my digital life. Her name disappeared from banking apps, utilities, and insurance. It was like closing tabs on a browser full of errors. Every click felt lighter. Every password reset sounded like freedom. When I finally sat down with my coffee, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad either. I was just free from noise, pretending to be love. And that was enough. Emma came back from Madrid 2 weeks later. Her tan had faded, her confidence cracked. She walked through the door like a guest in her own life. Her eyes searched the room for something still hers. I was sitting at the table, calm, unreadable. A letter from USCIS lay beside my coffee. She glanced at it, then at me. "What is that?" she asked. "The end," I said. She blinked like she didn't understand. Then her phone buzzed. Her expression changed as she read. HR email, access revoked, authorization expired. Her lips trembled. "You did this," she whispered. "I followed procedure," I replied. "You destroyed my life." "No, I stopped funding the lie." Her eyes filled with tears that didn't fall. She reached for the paper, her hands shaking. "You can fix it," she begged. "Just call them. Tell them it was a mistake." I shook my head slowly. It wasn't a mistake. It was documentation. She slammed her hand on the counter. "You're heartless." "I'm consistent." The room felt smaller, tighter, full of unspoken years. "You married me for convenience," I said. She flinched. "You think everything was fake." "I think everything had an expiration date." Her silence was louder than any confession. She sat down, staring at the floor. Then she laughed, sharp, broken. "Jason doesn't even answer my calls anymore," she said. I stayed quiet. She wanted pity. I had none left to give. "Do you feel proud?" she asked. "I feel done." Her phone buzzed again. Another message from HR. Final notice. Termination effective immediately. Her hands covered her face. I watched her crumble without satisfaction. This wasn't revenge. It was gravity finally working. I slid a paper across the table. Move-out checklist. Bedroom, until the end of the month. Keys, utilities, cleaning, signatures. She stared at it like it was a death certificate. "You're a spreadsheet with legs," she muttered. "Today I'm a boundary," I answered. She took off her ring, placed it next to the salt shaker. "I hope you're happy," she said. "I'm at peace." Her voice cracked, but no tears came. She signed the bottom of the checklist with shaking fingers. Then she walked to the balcony and called someone. The tone was desperate, pleading, foreign. I turned on the faucet to drown the sound. When she came back, her face was pale, eyes empty. "They said there's nothing they can do," she whispered. I nodded. "That's true." She picked up her bag, stared at me one last time. Was any of it real? I looked her in the eye. Yes, until it was. She left quietly, closing the door behind her. The sound of the lock sliding into place felt like oxygen. I stood there, still, breathing for the first time in years. The next few days were quiet, almost peaceful. Emma stayed in the bedroom, moving like a ghost. She avoided me, avoided mirrors, avoided truth. Her phone barely lit up anymore. Jason had vanished completely. His last message was short, cold, final. "My legal team advised no contact. This is permanent." She read it over and over like it might change. It didn't. She stopped eating. Stopped pretending. Every sound in the apartment felt too loud for her silence. I worked, lifted weights, and waited for the end. One morning, a voicemail arrived. "I'm sorry," she said. "I was stupid. I don't want Madrid, I want us." Her voice cracked on the word us. I listened once, then archived it. Sorry is a word that arrives too late. I gave her until the end of the month to leave. She asked for 2 more weeks. I said yes, under conditions. Close utilities, clean the bathroom, return the keys. She nodded like someone signing a confession. At night, I heard her talking in rapid Spanish. The tone was panic, the kind that comes when all exits close. Her mother called from abroad. Left messages full of guilt and threats. "Be a man and undo your letter," she said. I didn't reply. Boundaries don't need explanations. Emma tried one more time. She came to the kitchen, holding the denial letter. Her hands were shaking. "You could have just waited," she whispered. "You could have helped me stay. You could have stayed honest," I said. She laughed bitterly, a sound too sharp for tears. "So that's it, you win." "There was never a game," I said. "Just consequences." She stared at me like I was a stranger wearing her husband's face. "You don't even care," she said. I cared until it cost me my sanity. She turned away, packing the same 5 steps. "I have nothing left," she said softly. "That's not true," I replied. "You still have time to leave with dignity." She scoffed, grabbed her ring from the counter, and threw it. It landed near my coffee cup, with a soft metallic thud. "That's your closure," she said. I picked it up with 2 fingers, dropped it into a small plastic bag. "For the record," I said quietly. She glared at me, eyes burning but empty. "You're a machine." "No," I said. "I'm someone who learned." That night, I left a one-way flight itinerary on the table. Destination, her home country. Departure, 8:35 p.m. Terminal 1. A note on top read, "This is your soft landing." When I woke up, the ring was gone. The packet was signed. Her suitcase waited by the door. At the airport, she didn't look back. No words, no tears, no scene. Just silence swallowing everything that used to matter. When the plane lifted off, I finally exhaled. Not relief. Not joy. Just the quiet truth of something finished. After she left, the apartment felt bigger. Empty spaces echoed where chaos used to live. I changed the locks the next morning. Not out of fear, out of routine. The locksmith handed me 2 new keys. He said, "Fresh start, huh?" I just nodded. Fresh starts are quieter than people imagine. I donated half her things, boxed the rest. The air smelled different without her perfume. I cleaned every surface like I was erasing ghosts. It wasn't bitterness. It was maintenance. Days turned into structure. Work, gym, dinner, sleep. I started sleeping through the night again. No anxiety, no waiting for lies to ring. I learned to enjoy silence. It became my new language. One evening, I met someone at a cafe. Her name was Lauren. She laughed with her whole face, not her phone. She asked questions and listened like it mattered. No games, no hidden motives. Just presence. We started seeing each other on weekends. She showed up early, brought coffee, remembered details. Her energy didn't demand control. It offered calm. We never talked about the past. She didn't need to fix me, and I didn't need to impress her. We existed in peace, not performance. I noticed small things again. The way sunlight hit the counter. The sound of boiling water. The comfort of breathing without tension. Lauren laughed at my habit of labeling files. She said I treated life like a spreadsheet. I told her spreadsheets don't lie. She said peace doesn't either. She brought sticky notes with little jokes on them. "Drink water, stretch your back, you're not a robot." I kept them in the drawer, where Emma used to hide passwords. I didn't delete memories, I just stopped feeding them. Months passed. No drama, no calls, no guilt. just normal days that felt safe. I learned that peace isn't thrilling. It's repetition that doesn't hurt. It's the same morning routine, done without dread. It's trusting your own calendar again. Lauren and I cooked simple meals together. We walked through farmers' markets on Sundays. No staged photos, no filtered smiles. Just two adults who preferred honesty to adrenaline. She made plans. I kept promises. Our lives ran parallel, not tangled. Finances separate. Boundaries clear. Love quiet. I fixed what squeaked, replaced what broke, watered the plants. My apartment finally felt like home. Sometimes I still thought about Emma. Not with anger, just with understanding. Some people teach you peace by breaking it first. Now I protect it like oxygen. Lauren doesn't complete me. She respects me. And that's enough. Every night I lock the door, turn off the lights, and smile. Not because I won, but because I finally stopped losing myself. A year passed quietly. No letters, no calls, no memories trying to crawl back. Emma became a name that no longer hurt. Somewhere across the ocean, she started again. Maybe she learned something. Maybe she didn't. Jason disappeared into another story. The world moved on, and so did I. My life became simple, deliberate calm. Work steady. Home clean. Heart uncluttered. Lauren stayed beside me, steady as sunrise. We didn't promise forever. We promised honesty. I kept the old files in a single folder marked closed. Not as bitterness, but proof that survival has structure. Every morning feels earned now. I water the plants, stretch, and open the blinds. Peace doesn't need noise to exist. It lives in repetition. It grows where chaos used to bloom. Sometimes I think about how silence saved me. How truth, written in ink and patience, ended the storm. I don't chase excitement anymore. I choose balance. Because love isn't about saving someone else. It's about not losing yourself again. And I never plan to.